Welcome back. Let's continue with Chapter 5, Prepping for the CIA. Al spent all his waking time thinking about his parents. Unfortunately, he hardly had any time to talk to Turnkey about the details because Mr. Underwood made him a slave from every early morning till late at night when he wasn't in class. He cleaned just about every room in the mansion, sometimes before and after the room was used. Al had a checklist for each room and what was needed. Chairs in their place? Check. Trash taken out? Check. Markers for whiteboards all accounted for? Check. So many details to cover per room. He didn't slough off at any time, knowing the chief was watching him on the tracking chip in his shoulder. Al had no idea how much work Mr. Underwood and his staff had to perform to run the house so efficiently for the agents. This punishment pretty much stunk. Al had prepared some of the rooms for the CIA agents who were staying at the mansion to oversee the agent trials. The place was abuzz, and all the talk was about the agent trials. Both junior agents and the trainees, the 9 to 12-year-olds, scampered about with the hopes of meeting some of the CIA agents. Trainees did most of their agent education in simulators, and a few of the brightest had the opportunity to work at analyst computer stations on real CIA cases as part of their training. The night before the trials, Turnkey and Al finally had a chance to talk in their bedroom. Turnkey was in the middle of a set of sit-ups when Al turned from his desk and looked at him. "So I've been thinking more about my parents." "Come up with anything?" Turnkey continued, crunching the abdominal workout. Al ran his hand through his hair. "I think, maybe, they must have been kidnapped. I mean, I know they left me a lot of money in my trust, and I don't have any sisters or brothers." "Yo, dog, what you call me?" "You know what I mean, brother." Al laughed. "So maybe their kidnapper faked their car death because he wanted money? I think my mom was talking about a stone in the video. Maybe they own diamonds or something, and the kidnapper wanted that." Turnkey finished his sit-ups and looked at Al. "Yo, I thought she said stone too. Did they leave you diamonds?" Al shook his head. "No, they just left me money in a trust. The chief gives me a monthly amount from it as my guardian, but he hasn't ever told me or said anything much about it." Turnkey stood up and wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. "You still think we should keep this video from the chief?" Al threw Turnkey a small towel. "Yeah, we just need time to figure it out." Turnkey wiped down his head with the towel and looked at Al. "We could bring Marianne in on this to help us. She could run a sneaky trace on that email and find where it came from." "I thought about her too, but I want to try between us first," Al said. Turnkey yawned. "Well, when we both pass the agent trials tomorrow and head to Langley, we might be able to use the CIA resources to find out more. But yo, we gotta turn in early for tomorrow. It's gonna be intense." Al agreed and said goodnight, and the guys got into their bunks. The agent trials had been the least of his concerns over the last few days. For tomorrow, he would give it his sole attention. Failing the agent trials meant expulsion from the undercover secret agency and the end of everything he wanted. The next morning, the junior agents waited outside the mansion for a company bus to take them from Long Island to New York City. Al was anxious all night and hardly slept because he couldn't stop thinking about the agent trials. He downed an energy drink. It boosted him enough that he jogged in place to release some energy as he waited. As he ran in place, he tried to concentrate on different scenarios from his classes that he might encounter in the trials. The undercover secret agency prep school had a strong record of recruiting the best students, and many of the top agents in the CIA initially came from the Universal Sports Academy. For the few that could handle it, they would go into the CIA Black Ops section and become field agents, if they did well in the agent trials. He felt like he'd already run a marathon by the time the bus arrived. Turnkey tapped on Al's shoulder when they got on the bus. "Yo, can I have the window seat?" "Sure, TK." Al let his partner pass and they both sat down together. As the bus began to pull away from the main circle drive, they looked out and saw Marianne wave goodbye from one of the mansion windows. The guys smiled and waved back. When the bus pulled onto the main street, Each put on their headphones to listen to music. As the rural landscapes became urban outside the window, Al continued to think about the tests. Everyone knew that the chief kept the past trials secret, and agents were forbidden to discuss them once they participated. How would the CIA change them this year? Al began to feel a pit forming in his stomach. He had his courses prepped him enough? Alongside the classes taught by tutors in normal school subjects, he had taken special classes for CIA preparation: weapons and demolition, martial arts, secret codes and cryptology, intelligence gathering and observation, and HSV, high-speed vehicle training, were among some of the classes. He had done well, but nobody could compare to Turnkey or Mary Ann. Turnkey was the top junior agent, and Mary Ann had always been ahead of everyone, even though she was only 13. Left behind at the mansion, she would have passed the trials if given the chance. She excelled at everything, but especially computers and technology. Everyone called her a genius because she had become a junior agent when she was only 10 years old. Her brilliance in engineering allowed her to have her own laboratory as a lead scientist on Blue Level at the downtown USA headquarters in the city, where she often worked creating helpful gadgets. Nobody could compare to Mary Ann. But as Al looked around the bus, he felt like everyone was a better agent than him. He felt sick to his stomach and started to pick at his fingernails. He had given all his thought to the email and video over the last few days instead of concentrating on the trials when the chief announced them. The company bus arrived at the downtown Universal Sports Academy building and parked on the street since it was too tall to go into the underground parking garage. Alabaster and Turnkey followed the other junior agents as they stepped out of the bus and entered a side door into the skyscraper. The USA headquarters was hidden below the main building of the Universal Sports Academy. The deep, secret location has softer rock than at the mansion, making it an ideal place to dig decades ago. The junior agents were led to a prep room on the first level of the building. The room was large and had cushioned chairs and a couple of windows that looked out into the hall. A flat panel television was on the wall, with everyone's name displayed. 2 men and women wearing black suits were waiting for them. The dark-haired woman told everyone to take a seat. The woman explained that the agent trials would be taken individually and that tests would take about an hour to complete. All the junior agents looked at each other in surprise. Al thought it would take the whole day, and apparently so did everyone else. The woman raised her voice and said they would only do skills examinations, and it was going to happen in the same place the chief normally set up his trials on Indigo level, below in the secret HQ. After it was over, each junior agent was supposed to meet with a CIA agent to discuss their results. Al sat forward in his chair and started to bounce one of his legs. He was skillful, but his best work came from climbing tests and paper examinations. This trial was not in his favor. Al looked over at Turnkey, who showed no sign of being nervous. The woman explained that they would not go to the weapons hall, but enter the field agent inquiry location door. He had passed that door on Indigo several times when heading to advanced weapons training to learn how to shoot guns and rockets. Al always wondered what was behind that door. The junior agents were told they would go in alphabetical order according to their last name. That put Al in 4th position. The flat panel on the wall indicated when a tested agent was finished. Al looked over at Turnkey, who was immersed in music with headphones on. Al closed his eyes and tried to think about all the exams they might throw at him. When he thought of bomb defusing training, he couldn't shake thoughts about his parents. A flood of sadness rushed through his body, and he felt hot. Why were they killed? What was the stone? Al pictured his mom and his dad and missed them. Alabaster Dangermond, you're up now, the woman said, tapping him on his shoulder. He opened his eyes and looked and saw his name was on the flat panel. He must have fallen asleep. Turnkey pulled off his headphones. Go get it, Al. You'll be great, yo. Al rubbed his eyes and turned to his friend. Thanks, bro. He gave Turnkey a double bump with his fist and left the room. The 39-story headquarters building had 28 high-speed elevators, but members of the secret USA only used one specific elevator to go down, number 12. Pressing the elevator button, the doors opened. Al stepped in, and the doors closed. "ID card, please," said a female voice in the closed elevator. Alabaster usually thought the HQ elevator voice sounded soothing, but he hardly noticed her this time. He was trying to think about what the first test would be. He rolled his shoulders to try and loosen them up as he pulled out his ID. Al swiped his card through the card reader, and the elevator lights turned red. Several laser beams scanned the elevator. "Full security scan complete. Welcome back, Agent Dangermond," said the elevator voice. "You are instructed to proceed to the Field Agent Inquiry location on level Indigo." The elevator began its 700-foot rapid descent. He had reached the Agent Trials. Next, we'll read Chapter 6, The Agent Trials. Thanks.